conversations that you have in press box.
This ain't your normal show, cut.
No, it's not. It is not.
I'm hearing rave reviews.
That's hard to stomach.
They're all here inside the press box.
Ah, yes, but the day would not be complete without you inside the press box. So thanks for joining us on great radio stations around the Southeast or online, pressboxradio.com, or via the brand new Pressbox video stream. That's right. You can find it on youtube.com/pressboxradio. Mike Grace hosting the show from the MGL production studios just outside of Atlanta, Georgia. Old play-by-play guy, blessed to have spent a career bouncing around press boxes all across the country, making great friends. And now those friends meet me here. We catch up. We share some of their expertise and opinions. And I got guys to help me do that. One of our regulars on Thursday is Jason Powers. He is out today getting ready to start the championships today. It runs today through Sunday for the NFL flag leagues all across the country, having their championships at the Hall of Fame Village in Canton, Ohio. And so Jason Powers all tied up with that. But meanwhile, putting in my friend on the other side of the Atlanta Metro, part of the regular Tuesday, Thursday crew, a couple of decades serving Learfield as studio host, where he's worked for Troy, UAB, Southern Miss, Florida, and others. He is our friend Mike Mote, and welcome to Friday Eve, my friend.
Yes, sir. And welcome to Friday for the SEC Media Days. It's their last day. I guess you could call it Friday for them. But we've got a few teams still left to hear from. Kentucky, Arkansas, Texas A&M, and Mizzou will be there today. But it's wrapping up, and now in a couple of weeks we'll get into practice. But it's been a fun week so far. It's been fun to listen to. I hope everybody's enjoyed all our coverage this week.
Well, it's certainly been fun bringing it to you. I know that. I know on day 4, there might be a little bit more elbow room for our guys down at the College Football Hall of Fame up on the second floor. Digital Drive is where our own Colin Lacy has been hanging out all week along with Brent Osborne. Great to have you fellas there. And yeah, for some reason, the place is kind of emptied out, hasn't it?
Yeah, this place was buzzing on Monday and Tuesday especially. Yesterday, you started, as the day went on, you started to see some people start to drop off, and now, let's just say it's a lightly populated digital drive here on a Thursday morning. There's still a couple ripping and roaring up front, but this back hallway, it's us, boys.
Yeah.
More Dr. Pepper and breakfast for you too.
Dang right, Mote.
And I heard the breakfast spread was first class. Yeah,
Hey, that bacon was pretty on point this morning.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. Yesterday they had some like loaded stuffed hash browns.
Oh,
Yeah, those were really good.
See, and I'm not really a breakfast guy.
Oh, I'm a huge breakfast guy.
I love breakfast.
Yeah.
I can't wake up good without having breakfast.
Yeah, I'm not really a breakfast guy, but whenever I get up this early, it's a necessity.
I'm a free food guy. If they're offering it, I'm going to eat it at a place like that. Especially if I get it to it before the newspaper folks get to it.
Well,
I will take,
Well, it might be a little smaller crowd than it was yesterday, just as much fun. And we'll recap it all today. Coming up, what has happened all week and what is in store for day number 4 at SEC Media Days. And we'll do all that coming off the slowest night of the year in the sports world, boys and girls. So much so that ESPN created their event, the ESPYs. Now, guys, I got to tell you, I caught a few seconds of the opening Shane Gillis monologue.
Awesome.
That's legendary.
Awesome.
And a couple of seconds was enough for me, fellas. That's all I really needed. Did you guys watch? Did you enjoy?
I didn't watch. I saw it on social media after the fact. Me and the ESPYs, I'm good.
Can I just say he's not my cup of tea?
Yeah, I mean, it almost seemed a little awkward, but I think that's just kind of him. Some of the jokes were hilarious, but
Did you catch his Caitlin Clark Waffle House joke?
Yes.
Yes, I did.
That was and I really like Shane. I think he's a really good comedian. But the issues with and I will say probably with most comedians is it's very limited on, like you said, like who finds them funny, who doesn't find them funny. When they cross the line, that type of thing.
Yep.
And so that's why I mean, that's just kind of how comedians are, and I think he's hilarious. I thought his jokes were hilarious last night, but I know that a lot of people thought that they were inappropriate, awkward, that kind of stuff. And I guess that's the comedian world, that you're going to offend a lot of people and you're going to make
Sure,
people laugh. So
I would say, aside from being a big time college coach in the SEC or other big conferences, being a stand up comedian these days or a comedian of any kind is probably one of the hardest jobs because
Yeah, true.
of how many people you're going to tick off by what you say, even though what you're paid to do is be
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
And if people would just lighten up a little bit, they might actually laugh at it, you know?
And look, I know some folks who are huge Shane Gillis fans. I know some folks who love his TV series, which is on Netflix now, Tires. I think they just dropped their second season. But yeah, keep in mind, this is the guy who was a Saturday Night Live cast member for all of 5 days. They fired him 5 days after announcing him as the newest member of
Isn't that nice?
the SNL crew.
Yeah, I
So-
wouldn't
I'm
be
sure he's all right,
surprised
though,
if-
I think.
I wouldn't be surprised if he saw his last ESPYs.
yeah, I would imagine. Did you guys watch the little clip or whatever of the tush push thing with
I
him?
did not. No, I
You
saw
gotta watch
some notes about that on social media today, but I did not actually see.
you got to watch that. That one's pretty good. It's like basically him coming in as a janitor and inventing the tush push play.
The origin of the tush push. Yeah.
Of course, the course it's a little inappropriate, but pretty fun. And then right afterwards, he sat down with Coach Serrani from the Eagles and asked how that came about. So that was pretty cool.
Well, again, if that was your thing, enjoyed the ESPYs, great. We've got a couple of awards we may run down later in the day, but for the most part, we're going to talk football today. Thankfully, plenty of football to talk about thanks to the Southeastern Conference. We can recap day 3 yesterday, which was a busy day packed with Alabama's Kalen DeBoer and company, Mississippi State's Jeff Levy, Florida's Billy Napier, and Oklahoma's Brent Venables. Today, as Mike Mote mentioned, Missouri and Eli Drinkwitz will be there. Kentucky and their head coach Mark Stoops, who is now the longest tenured coach in the SEC.
Yeah.
Arkansas Sam Pittman is there as well, and Texas A&M second-year head coach Mike Elko there as well. And today, here on the show, the commish will make an appearance. Our guys had a chance to sit down with Greg Sankey, commissioner of the SEC, yesterday. We'll hear that conversation coming up in about 30 minutes, so stand by for that. And we are 44 days to kickoff, and what a kickoff it'll be. August 30th, a huge schedule, including the Peach Bowl and the Kickoff Classic, which gives us a doubleheader at the Mercedes-Benz Dome on the 30th and 31st. Peach Bowl Inc. CEO and President Gary Stockin is going to join us in hour number 2 today, so stand by for that. Gary Stockin from the Peach Bowl will be here. And we've also, somewhere during the course of the day, the guys had a chance yesterday to visit with Mississippi State first-year wide receiver Brennan Thompson. Interesting story, fellas. This is a guy who played at Spearman High School in Texas. I think the Spearman kind of was they not the inspiration for Friday Night Lights? Am I wrong?
So, yeah.
Wait, really?
I'm thinking so. I may be making that up, but in my head, I somehow assigned Spearman with that.
See, I really hope you're making that up because if I miss the opportunity to talk Friday Night Lights with him,
Yeah,
I'm
and
gonna
I
be
may
upset.
be. Is it Perryman that was that they used in that they used in the show? So I don't know. Either way, he comes out of Texas high school. He went to Texas as a freshman, then transferred to Oklahoma, was with Jeff Levy, the offensive coordinator for the Sooners, for 2 years. And now that Jeff Levy is the head coach at Mississippi State, Brendan Thompson is going to spend his last year of college football in Starkville, Mississippi. And you guys had a chance to visit with him, Colin and Brent, right?
Yeah, an impressive young man, and being able to kind of realize what last year was for Mississippi State, and we talked about it a little bit yesterday with you and Bart because we got him right, literally seconds before the show started yesterday.
Yep.
But it's a tough assignment coming into SEC Media Day when last year you were 2-10, and being able to say what this offseason has been and create excitement for 2025. But we were talking to him yesterday, and I think the first thing we asked him was what it's like representing Mississippi State at SEC Media Day. And he said it's an honor. He's blessed to do it and being able to do it. And then we also talked about what Starkville means to him, being able to spend his last year of college eligibility in Starkville. And I think I told y'all yesterday that it's cool to see somebody like that, his face light up when Starkville hasn't necessarily been his home for, on the grand scheme of things, very long,
Right.
but still realizes what that community is.
I was impressed with what I heard from Jeff Levy yesterday. He seems to be more relaxed. And one of the things that he brought out in the conversation that I heard him having uh, during the day yesterday is the money that's being raised by the Mississippi State. Uh, I guess it's the NIL stuff, and
Right. Yeah.
they're setting records. I mean, they're putting in a lot of money for for that fund, and I thought that gives you an idea of the level of support that he has, even though last year went the way it did. And I mean, you could say what you want. I mean, they were in a lot of games. They were not out of very many games. I mean, they were in the Ole Miss game, they were in the Georgia game, they were in the Texas game for a while. Didn't win those games, but 2-10 is what you ended up, being at the end of the day. But there's a chance for this team to significantly improve that total of wins, and I think they can. But I really liked his confidence. He just had that air about him that he feels pretty good about this season and what they can do in year 2 of his tenure there.
I was thinking about similar to that, and this is not to discount what you just said by any stretch of the imagination, because I think you're spot on, and I think there's a lot of excitement around Starkville that nobody's talking about.
Yeah.
But everybody, and it seems like almost every team has said, well, we've hit record numbers with NIL, blah, blah, blah. NIL only started like 4 years ago. So are we really talking about big records here?
Well, I happen to have a list of what I think is Pete Nakos, who came out with a list of college football's biggest spenders. And we're in the neighborhood of I think the biggest spenders are in the neighborhood of $30+ million a year to fund their team.
The money that they were throwing out, the figure he was throwing out yesterday was a high for me. I couldn't believe that Mississippi State would put that kind of money in it. And that doesn't mean that I don't have, faith in them or anything. It's just that number seemed pretty high for a program that size.
Yeah.
They're not Alabama. They're not Georgia.
They're not. No. And exactly. And I think, again, Texas, I think is, there's been rumors out there about $40 million, but, sources are saying probably 30 million is more reasonable. Either way, that's where we are. We're in an arms race right now. And back on the Mississippi State thing, you talk about, we know in the transfer portal, you have the possibility of improving your team in a hurry thanks to the transfer portal. There are 60 new players on this Mississippi State roster. 60.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It is a lot. And so, we'll see. A lot of improvement from 2-10, and the schedule is always going to be tough as Mississippi State. But pulling for Jeff Levy and that crew to have a little more successful year. Obviously, another big part of yesterday was Alabama's Kalen DeBoer. He's getting ready to start year number 2, and following up Nick Saban at Alabama, 9-4 last year. Alabama fans do not want to see 9-4 again in 2025, but I was really impressed. This guy just seems comfortable in his own skin, Mike Mote. He doesn't seem overwhelmed by this job in any shape or form to me.
Well, and I think he embraces what everybody knows is still there, and that's Nick Saban. Nick Saban's still part of the program. He's got an office. He talked about it yesterday, Kalen DeBoer did. He said, he has a place there, and you either accept it or you don't. And it's harder for you if you don't, because that man's handprint is going to be on this program for quite a while, even though DeBoer is now running things. But I don't see him worried. I don't see him as a guy who is at all intimidated by where he is. He never was that way last year. He said all the right things, and then he went out and went, 8-4, as you said, and 9-4, and that was not what Alabama fans wanted to see. And I don't think it's going to be anything what they want to think about this year either. But I don't think he's worried about that. I think he feels very confident that he can do better than that with what he has as an offensive coordinator, a really good wide receiver room by all accounts, and a better defense, and maybe better addition by subtraction. Maybe they're a little bit better in the backfield and the running back department as well. So I think there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic. And I thought he was. And I thought, he just kind of maintained his normal personality that he's had since he's been at Alabama at Media Day yesterday.
Yeah, I kind of made this topic yesterday, and we can expand on it here. We're about 5 minutes left in the segment. I made mention something along the lines of that, with Ty Simpson as quarterback, he may not be the big play guy that Jalen Milroe was, but might he be more consistent and thus produce a better offense. I mean, that was the issue with Jalen Milroe. He was a freak athlete that could make some incredible plays that nobody else is going to make.
Yeah.
But also incredibly inconsistent and had the ability to just miss wide open receivers and do some stuff like that.
Yeah.
My question is, can Ty Simpson just be more consistent? And in doing so, coupled up with Ryan Grubb, the new coordinator, back with Kalen DeBoer after years of success at Washington, might this offense be better with Ty Simpson at quarterback?
I would think it might be better as an offense. I think the offense overall can be better. I think the reason why we know Jalen Milroe for making big plays, guys, is because that's what he had to do. You weren't getting the production from the running game that you normally would get at Alabama. You weren't. And you weren't getting anybody really stepping forward besides Ryan Williams. I mean, Jeremy Menard had a good year. I know that. But I'm just saying other guys didn't step up like we may have thought they would. So I think a more consistent offense really begins with everybody but Ty Simpson. Ty Simpson can manage the offense and be a good leader of that group. So I think if guys can step forward and maybe, let's get some other guys involved and maybe make a few plays and take the pressure off of him. I think everybody was waiting for Milroe to make plays, Colin, more so than, this year. I think everybody can make plays, and I think they're not expecting Ty Simpson to be that type of quarterback.
No, and I think we talked about it a little bit yesterday that Ty Simpson, like Mike said, is a much more consistent version than Jalen Milroe. The ceiling is not there, not even close to what Jalen Milroe can do on the plus side. But I think the floor is much higher than what Milroe's was. You're not going to see some of the colossal meltdowns that you saw from Milroe at times in the last couple of years. So I think the ceiling is lower, but the floor is higher, and it gets you a more even keel in this offense. And I think at times that's just what this offense needed. It didn't need Milroe to be the superstar, even though he felt like he needed to. Jam Miller is a really good running back, y'all. I think he is one of the more underrated running backs in this league. And Brent, you were talking yesterday and made a really good point about what Ryan Williams can be in this offense. Everybody saw the highlight catches that he made, but being able to get him involved in a couple of different ways, and you were pointing it out yesterday.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think that's going to be the key for them this year. Is I mean, Ryan Williams is a freak. He's one of those guys that you have to get the ball in his hands as many times as possible every single game, and you got to get creative with it. He kind of reminds me, obviously, not a big body, but it reminds me of a year or two ago with Georgia with like Brock Bowers, right? They were finding any way that they could get the ball into his hands, and I think it's going to be the same exact way with Ryan Williams. You do everything you can to get the ball in his hands, and as we talked about, you run some swing routes, some jet sweeps, whatever it may be. Those are essentially outside runs in today's world, and I think that also gets Ty Simpson more comfortable in the game, being able to throw some short passes and having some big gains from them. And so I think that's going to be a huge factor for them, is getting him more involved. Because again, I know that at least as fans, we didn't know really much about this Ryan Williams kid other than like he was a great talent coming out of high school and seeing what he could do. And then about middle of the season, he started making plays and putting up numbers that we had never seen before. And so I mean, that was something big.
I would say this too, guys. I think whoever gets on the other side of the formation from Ryan Williams, because they're going to double team him out of the gate to start the year. They'd be crazy not to. So somebody's got to step forward. Who's that guy going to be? How do you figure that out? And I think that's a big key to Alabama's success early too.
And Mike noted one of the again point you made earlier. It wasn't just last year. Last couple of years, Alabama team has had trouble running the football. They really have, and that's something Ty Simpson needs. He doesn't have to be Jalen Milroe. Doesn't have to be Tua. Doesn't have to be Bryce Young. If he can be A.J. McCarron or Greg,
be like a Jacob Coker.
Absolutely. That they can win with Ty Simpson at quarterback if the rest of this team is what we've come to get used to with Alabama. We shall see in 2025. All right, just getting rolling. Day 4 of SEC Football Media Days continues after a timeout on the Press Box.
Yeah, and I don't like pumpkins.
The Southeastern Conference, and it's here inside the press box.
And that's what they mean when they say it means more. I mean, are there better rivalries in the country than what we have in the Southeastern Conference? You got Tennessee and Alabama. You got Alabama, Auburn. You got Ole Miss State. You got Texas, Oklahoma. Texas A&M. What Florida, Georgia? What am I? Florida, LSU has a great rivalry. What am I missing?
Alabama, LSU.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
great ones in there.
And for some reason, Alabama and Ole Miss is not playing right now, and that's crazy to me.
It
But
is. Yeah,
that's a good one.
It is
That's a
indeed.
good one. I think it's underrated.
Hey,
Uh,
I will
Something-
say,
yeah,
as
yeah.
great as the rivalries are, I got to give you props, Mike, because the rejoins this week, when you've got the it's football time in Tennessee, you've got the Jack Crystal. Oh, I love
Yeah.
that one.
Well, and here's the thing, and I was gonna. That's a perfect setup for an hour from now. Where our when the rejoins are the little things that you hear aren't there that we come out of commercial breaks with. I've got one more that we'll play in hour two. That is a new one from our voice guy, and I've called him our voice guy, but his name is actually Keith. He lives down in Destin, Florida, and he's a Bama
SEC
fan.
country.
He grew up in the state of Alabama, and he is a huge Alabama fan. And so I'm saving this for tomorrow. We'll maybe do this in our odds and ends segment. Some of the outtakes he did for me. I sent him 2 pages worth of copy, and he read all of that. And in the midst of it, he'll just do random stuff. And so I clipped up the outtakes of him,
That's
and
phenomenal.
it's some pretty cool stuff. Just talking about his love for Alabama and his disdain. We try not to use the word hate on this program.
Unless we're
But
talking Tennessee.
his strong dislike for that other team in the state of Alabama. So the voice guy.
What, Troy? He don't like Troy?
It's not Troy. No, it's
I'm
not.
teasing. I know who it is. I know dang well who it is.
But there again, we're back to the point. I mean, that's the SEC, man.
Sure.
I mean, come on. That's just the SEC. Some great rivalries and some great stuff going on there. By the way, we'll just throw this in because we should. 153rd Open Championship is
In
underway.
Ireland.
Yes,
this
the
time.
oldest golf tournament in the world, the Battle for the Claret Jug, is already underway. Royal Portrush
Yep.
in Northern Ireland.
I think the last time it was there was what, 2009? Is that
6
right?
years ago. Yeah.
Or 2019. I'm sorry.
19.
2009. 2019. That's what I mean.
Xander Schauffele, the reigning champion golfer of the year. And
Yeah.
of course, the hometown favorite, Irishman Rory McIlroy, number 2 golfer in the world. He is second on the odds board behind the number 1 in the world. That is Scotty Scheffler. Live stream going on all day today on Peacock, and TV coverage right now through like
On the USA Network.
That's right. USA Network is where you'll
Go
find it.
go look for that. That big sports monster, USA Network.
Hey, Brent's our resident golf expert here. I mean, somebody that worked for the PGA years ago, but you had it pulled up on your phone while we were eating breakfast.
I did, yeah. It's nice to, that's the one thing that I've always struggled with golf is sometimes the TV coverage can be so frustrating because they won't cover it until later in the day and everything.
Yep.
So that's the one nice thing about them playing overseas a lot of times is you get early morning coverage. Now I did not wake up at like 1:35 this morning when
I would
coverage
hope not.
started, but
Yeah.
yeah, I listened to it on the way in this morning and then had it pulled up before we went on air.
It's hard to beat Sunday morning golf when you wake up Sunday morning and then you're in the final round of the Open. That's pretty cool stuff. I can dig that as well. What else is going on today? As we mentioned, we are about 10 minutes away from hearing our conversation, Colin and Brent's conversation with the commissioner, Greg Sankey, yesterday. Just maybe a tease as to what you guys talked about and something to look forward to from the commissioner.
It was really cool getting to sit down with him, and it's phenomenal how many of these he has to do over these 4 days here. Talk in his. I don't really know the official title for her. I should, but I don't. But Miss Kathy
Yes.
is around the clipboard of all his schedules, and she has a sheet that is so intricate. It's incredible of where he needs to be when, because he's somebody that can't be late to stuff.
Yep.
Like he can't be late to the big stage to introduce Jeff Lebby at Mississippi State. But one of the things we talked about, because we've talked about it a lot this week, that most of the people that we have spoken to here at SEC Media Days have done a million of these interviews or will do a million of these interviews.
Yeah.
And so we've tried to kind of go a little bit different route and ask some of the questions that it's not the same four that they get asked every stop they have along Digital Drive. And so one of the things I talked about with him and wanted to dive into was he's really big on relationships, because there's a lot of commissioners that will sit in their office and just kind of be the figurehead. They'll put out press releases, they'll do a couple interviews and stuff around big events, but that's about as far away from Greg Sankey as it can be. He is always at everything. He talked about in January he made it a point to visit all 16 sites, and there was one week I think he said he was in 10 different cities.
Yep.
And
Wow.
and so being able to foster those relationships, and then we talked about how it's kind of helped him in this ever-changing world of college athletics and college football especially, how much those relationships make when you have to have those tough conversations, whether it be with coaches, presidents, chancellors, athletic directors, how having those relationships, which is something we talk about on this show a lot, of relationships around this game,
Yeah.
how much easier it makes for him to be able to have those conversations because of the legwork that he's put in throughout the year.
Well, Colin and Mike and all of us here on the network and talking on this program have relationships with people, and we've built those relationships over time. And I tell you, there's a trust level that comes with those, because if you can develop a trust with somebody, I've always said in business and sales and stuff, it's not about what you're selling; it's the fact that you'll deliver what you say.
Correct.
It's your word. That's what it's about. And I think if Greg Sankey wants people to buy into what he's selling them, I think he has to have a relationship with them, and they trust that they will, put into him when he does the right thing for the greater good of not only the league itself, but for them, the folks that is entrusted him to be the commissioner of this league. And I think a lot of times he gets blamed for stuff that he didn't even come up with to begin with. I heard him yesterday talking about the addition of more teams to the NCAA basketball tournament. He's like, man, that's not my idea. I didn't even, I haven't even been pushing it that hard. He said, I mentioned it a few years ago.
Right. Yeah.
And now all of a sudden I'm charged with, hey, I'm the one that wants to do this. Not necessarily. He said, but I do think that we could expand it.
Yes.
And stuff like that. I don't know that I want him to do that, but I mean, he gets blamed for a lot of stuff that maybe he suggests, but it's not really his full idea. Somebody else may have added as well.
Well, as we learned in the Spider-Man movies, with great power comes great responsibility, right?
That's exactly right.
Oh, excuse me, guys. Breaking news. Hang on here. Wait a second.
Oh,
This just in, and it comes straight from our live chat messages on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/PressBoxRadio. Has Saban announced his comeback? Question. One of my frat buddies knows a guy and says it's a sure thing. So, there you go. Breaking news. It's a sure thing because his frat buddy knows a guy.
it's amazing to me how this has taken off. And really and truly, this is probably the biggest
That's from
question.
the Kiffin thing, wasn't it? Where he said he didn't think he was done coaching.
Oh, yeah. Well,
They asked Kiffin about it.
Greg McElroy's the guy who started it. He started
Okay,
it
McElroy
this week.
And
Yeah, Matt McElroy.
they asked Kirby about it.
Yeah, they
Kirby
asked
kind of
Kirby.
made the joke and said I offered him Muschamp's job, but he was overqualified.
Overqualified, yeah.
But I was watching, we've talked about it a couple of times. Our buddy McCreary and Siskey have a show.
Yes.
And, Tyler Siskey worked under Saban at Alabama in the player personnel department. And he has said that from the people that he's talked to, that there's not a whole lot of legs.
No way.
So,
no way.
I can't see a world where it happens.
No way. And I'll tell you what, Nick might be for it, but Miss Terry's put her foot down, man.
Yep.
No.
And I don't see, and that's what Kirby said. I think that's what Kirby said when they asked about it. Was he said he's not the one that's going to make that call. It's the boss at home that's going to make that call.
The real boss of the house is going to make
That's
that.
right.
But I just don't see him. I think he does a really good job. I don't see him getting out of broadcasting.
No.
Oh, yeah, I don't think
ESPN's praying he doesn't.
He's earned his retirement years, that is for sure. All right, we owe you a timeout. We're back with the commissioner, Greg Sankey, inside the press box next. Indeed, they do. Set up all week at the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta, Georgia. It is SEC Football Media Days 25. Our Colin, Lacy, and Brent Osborne hanging out with us there all week on the second floor of the Hall of Fame. Digital Drive is where they're at. Mike Grace in one side of the Atlanta Metro, Mike Mote on the other side of the Atlanta Metro. By the way, can I just go ahead and mention, yes, we love the SEC, and it is predominantly the conference we talk about. But I promise you, in coming weeks, we're going to talk ACC. We're going to talk Sun Belt, especially those that are kind of in our footprint, where we're in basically 5 southeastern states, hoping to grow into number 6 and number 7 in the very near future. So stand by for that. So we'll do that later. But it's the SEC now, right? Yeah, SEC rules.
Sunbelt has them a new member, by the way.
They do
indeed. They do indeed. A 14th. The Louisiana Tech is back as a member. Weren't they?
Yes, they were in it before.
Yeah.
And then when everything went and kind of merged together with some of the Conference USA teams,
right?
Louisiana Tech was left out. I think Louisiana Tech was
catching
kind of
up with the
team out.
Yeah.
It's nice to. It's where they belong in terms of footprint. It makes absolutely the most sense to have them there with ULM and Lafayette and Texas State and those guys. So,
Conference USA is next Tuesday. Sun Belt is next Tuesday and Wednesday, and the ACC Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, along with the Big Ten and others. There's still the MAC and the American will do theirs later in the month as well. So we'll get around to those when the time is being. But we're at the SEC now, and the man at the SEC is Greg Sankey, commissioner, the 8th commissioner of the Southeastern Conference. Since June the 1st, 2015, he's been on the job and has successfully built the SEC's, again, recognized success. And pretty much, I mean, has he made himself the most powerful man in college athletics, guys?
No, I was telling Brent earlier on when we were eating breakfast this morning that about halfway through this interview with Greg Sankey yesterday, I caught myself thinking, we're sitting here talking to not only the leader of the SEC, but quite possibly the most powerful man in college athletics right now. Because any of these decisions, any of these new developments around what college athletics is going to be, whether it be the commission, whether it be NIL, whether it be salary, whatever it is, the first person that people are going to try to figure out what they think is Greg Sankey. And the whole discussion this week has been the kind of, I don't want to say rift, but kind of the fight between Greg Sankey and the Big Ten of the new college football playoff and what that's going to be, of what the format's going to be. Are we going to have 4 automatic qualifiers and all of that? And we talked a little bit about that yesterday.
Yeah.
But it all goes through him essentially at the end of the day. And so it was cool to be able to catch up with him. And as much as everybody looks at him from the 100,000-foot view as this big overarching, I don't want to say controller, but that may be the most opportune word, of college football, college athletics, it's really cool how personable he still is, not only with people in the SEC, but with us yesterday, with everybody around Digital Drive. Still feels like you're talking to a real person and not just this big figure.
Well, it's really not a stretch to say he is the most powerful man in college athletics, and he had a chance to sit down with our Colin, Lacy, and Brent Osborne yesterday, SEC commissioner, inside the press box.
Catching up with the commissioner of the Southeastern Conference and Greg Sankey. Appreciate you joining us, sir.
Thank you. Good to be here. Thanks for being part of Digital Drive, as we call it now.
You dive into SEC Digital Drive and Media Days and this event. Talk about what this event really means in the grand scheme of things of what the SEC is doing, because a lot of people say it's kind of the last benchmark of an offseason coming to an end.
Yeah, and I view it as the start, right? So when we hit the College World Series, that's kind of the end of the year. You get a week and a half, 2.5 weeks, something like that, and then you're back here. And this, to me, strikes me as the start, the hope, the optimism, the grand predictions for the year ahead. Everybody's undefeated. And so I think that's one. It's a starting point, and then it's a connection point too. So the opportunity to have different media outlets from different places all across our footprint meet personally with, whether it's myself or players or coaches or others around bowl games or other members of our staff. I think that's pretty unique and an important element of that kickoff to what's ahead for the 2025 football season.
Something that we've kind of sat in on and listened to coaches during their opening speeches and stuff like that, and we've heard just about all of them talking about the NIL, salary cap, all that kind of stuff that comes along with it. And the consistency is what they've asked for, is the transparency and consistency, just from the upper echelon of people that are making those decisions. Do you feel like we're kind of moving in that direction of trying to be the consistent and being transparent across the league?
There are two elements that have come up most frequently. The word guardrails is the one that for years was identified. We need guardrails for NIL. We need guardrails for this activity. So we have guardrails. Some of those are still in development because of the timing of the settlement approval and the terms of the settlement that require interaction with plaintiffs' attorneys. But we'll work through those as rapidly as we can. And then to the extent we can provide transparency and do that legally and do it in a legally defensible way, we want to seek that opportunity and agree with meeting that expectation of coaches. And I think part of what has to be understood is there's a lot out on social media, and the ability to be transparent in real time with social media, that won't be reality, but understanding what's really happening eventually, yes, I think we can move towards that.
How much has this day and age where everybody is an expert, they think, on social media and everything that they put out just goes out instantaneously, how much more difficult has it made this transition of what college football and college athletics is doing?
I'd add a couple things. So I used a phrase that I've used in meetings, sudden experts or sudden expertism. Somebody's put in a position and all of a sudden they're an expert. Now, they may be really great at oil and gas. They may be really great at executive search work, but that doesn't mean they're an expert on the intricacies of college sports and the relationships of different issues in college sports. And so you walk in unfettered and you suggest, hey, if we would just do this, we'd solve these problems. Whenever anyone says to me, if we would just do this, I think that they're suggesting a simple solution for a complex problem. The reaction to social media is real. Something's there, and if it's like said about me, and I'm using me generally, everybody knows that's not real. But if it's said about them, well, that's absolutely right. Particularly if it's thinking the worst, and that's like an added duty is to take that incoming. But whatever it is, you have to filter it through a lens of reality.
So just coming off of what was a really good season for the SEC football-wise, and looking back a couple years ago, I guess when it was announced that Texas and Oklahoma was going to be joining the SEC, looking back now, or looking back from then into now, after they just finished their first season, how would you say, did it go as smoothly as we had kind of hoped for the last couple years, like leading into it, now that they've got a season under their belts?
I think so. We had a very long runway from 2021 to entry in 2024 to prepare. We brought campus leaders, athletics directors, presidents, and chancellors, and then coaches into our meetings. We obviously had interaction during regular season and postseason with both programs anyway, so the familiarity was there. And some of their coaches had been coaches in our league. Oklahoma soccer coach was at Ole Miss. Sark was at Alabama with Nick for a while, so it's not as if we didn't have a level of knowledge. Going new places, I think, has been exciting, whether you're at Oklahoma or Texas, going to our pre-existing 14 members or part of the 14 going to either Austin or Norman. Both are bringing high-level programs consistent with our other high-level programs. I think that makes everyone better and have been good participants in our conversation. And what's nice is we're now to this point where, we're a 16-team league. We've been through this before, and we're just going to do it again. And I think that's when you can really start to make improvement as an organization.
One of the things that I love about the SEC, and specifically with you, is there's a lot of conference commissioners across the country that are just kind of the figurehead, that want to be in the office and be that kind of title. You're very different from that. You're out in these schools, you're out in these communities, being able to be in front of a lot of different people. Why has that been so important for you in your tenure here at the SEC?
Just really speaking from my perspective, this work is based on relationships. And even though we're much better at video conferencing than we were 5 years ago, I don't think you build relationships through screens. You build relationships through time, and through presence. And I'm reminded of that over and over in interaction. And there are times like in January, hey, I needed to be out on all 16 campuses, spending time with each of our presidents and chancellors. And when you do that, 16 times, that's like 2 straight weeks every day someplace different. And actually, I had a week where I think I was in 10 different cities in 6 days for those meetings. And that takes a toll. You're not able to do a lot more, but I think that's the emphasis on relationships, and that's part of trying to be in communities. And you can't, it's difficult to do as much in the spring as maybe going to football games in the fall because there's a rhythm. And football games don't allow you to deal with big policy issues, but you get to see a lot of people. And in the spring, from like mid-February until the end of June, the pace of our work, meetings, events, championships, the number of sports playing just zooms by. So you don't have as much opportunity to be out and be visible, except around those SEC or NCAA championship things.
And I'd imagine those relationships are so much more important whenever you get to the changing times in college athletics that you've had the last couple of years.
It is, and I think that's part of building trust as well. When we talk about some of the things that come out, you can then respond and say, hey, okay, you know who I am. Let's wait a second. Let's take a step back and talk through the issue.
And again, talking about some different things and some new things that have happened last season and still leading into this season. What was the process like last year when making the move to kind of get rid of divisions, get rid of the SEC West and the SEC East, and kind of just combining it? What was that process like?
Moving away from divisions is a conversation that began in 2018. Ironically, we were bringing a proposal to eliminate divisions as a 14-team conference to the March 2020 presidents and chancellors meeting. Our athletics directors had seen the information, no direction had been set. We were bringing the model for presentation to our presidents and chancellors on literally the week that we shut down because of COVID. So all of that work went on the shelf as we worked through COVID. When you came back to 2021, suddenly the Oklahoma and Texas opportunity was real, and the moving away from divisions became part of the growth to 16. There were 2 really important terms used, and we went through 6 months of conversation with athletics directors, like what should our priorities for scheduling be? And the words fairness and balance were continually identified. And so the fairness issue is about narrowing the bandwidth. So ideally, everyone's schedule in the conference, their opponent's win-loss percentage would be 500. That means everybody was playing a consistent schedule. Well, that's impossible. In divisions, you had a pretty broad, like a 20% variance based on East and West and the more competitive of the divisions. With the single division, you can narrow that to about 8% variance. Now, once a season starts, particularly in the volatility of the transfer portal, you can't control the competitive aspects there, but you can look back over time and try to build a competitive schedule. So that was the fairness issue. And then balance was everybody seeing everybody with a level of equal frequency. And that's what informed the decision to move away from divisions. First year worked well. We've really not had a conversation about going away from that. Every so often it'll pop up, but it's not been a substantive agenda item.
Finally, before we let you go, I know you've got a lot more to get to this afternoon, but when you look at the college football playoff and the changes that were made, you've been heavily involved with the college football playoff since its inception. And one thing that you said just before the SEC championship game last year was there are going to be changes as we evolve into this new college football playoff format. And the fact that the schedule and the timeline was very much quickened whenever you got to this 12-team format. How much have you and the rest of the staff learned of what this can be going forward?
I think a lot of the learning on campus about how you manage late in the year, I'd put that at the top of the list, and that's from talking with coaches during the playoff. So I saw Georgia play, I saw Texas play. I did not make it to Columbus for Tennessee's game, but reducing the level of contact, taking a longer view, that was part of the learning there. For us, we had identified, and I'd been a part of a group that identified issues that needed to be addressed, one of which was kind of this seeding based on putting teams into places. So Arizona State being bumped into a bye, despite I think their 8 or 9 ranking, Boise being the same. That was a good idea in 2020 when the Pac-12 existed, as it were, and became less of a good idea when all of the conference movement took place. So one of the adjustments from the learning is to simply seed based upon rankings. One of the issues we have is where do you place games at that time of year? So you want people to have time to prepare. You also want a level of clarity on who your opponents will be. You don't want to have to prepare for 12 different teams based on reseeding. So we'll continue to monitor those issues and other aspects of how we manage it. I think one of the learning experiences, we tried to sanitize as a CFP entity the home games. And really, the football traditions are important. And this is not like an NCAA basketball tournament game in a neutral site. This is a home game, and we should accept that and allow fireworks to go off and music to be played appropriately, not interfering with play, but the celebrations to occur consistent with traditions around college football.
Commissioner of the SEC, Greg Sankey. Mr. Commissioner, appreciate your time. I know it's a busy week for you, but appreciate you stopping by.
Yep, thanks for being here. Appreciate the conversation.
You know, it is pretty amazing how accessible he is, not only this week, but throughout the year. But Colin, you mentioned it earlier. I mean, he's done pretty much every radio show, every podcast, you name it. If someone's on Digital Drive this week, again promoting the SEC, the Southeastern Conference, the commissioner has made time for him.
There's no doubt. And we were talking about Miss Kathy has the schedule, and she's got a sheet that has blocks of 10 minutes.
Yep.
Usually you getting around 10 minutes. We were lucky to kind of fit in between two that worked out to a little bit more, but he is absolutely slammed. Whenever we talked to her on Tuesday, I believe it was,
Yeah.
I think she said she had 3 spots left for the entire week. And so it's impressive of what he does to help promote not only the SEC, but college athletics. And just a really impressive human being and a really impressive ambassador for the sport.
No doubt about it. The commissioner, Greg Sankey, with us. And if you missed any of that, we'll have it archived for you later today online, both PressBoxRadio.com and on the YouTube page, YouTube.com/PressBoxRadio. Before we wrap up the hour, fellas, some shout outs. Thanks to all our friends who are chatting with us now live on that YouTube.com/PressBoxRadio chat box. You can get a message to us there if you've got breaking news, like Austin did earlier. And then if you've got a shout out, we have some shout outs before the hour's out.
We got to give a shout out to one of our listeners that's new to the show,
but been with us for a while.
Been with us for a long time.
4 years to be exact, but give a shout out to my daughter Carson. Again, we got Laura Rutledge to give her a birthday shout out. She turned 4 on Sunday.
Yay.
So that was really cool. She loved having Laura give her a shout out, and told Colin yesterday it was one thing that I wanted to do was if I had a chance to run into Laura down at the main media areas, I wanted to thank her for that. And the type of person that Laura is that I went and told her, I said, hey, just want to say thank you for giving my daughter a birthday shout out. She loved it. And she literally goes, oh, Carson, right? And I mean, the amount of people that she probably talks to in a day is ridiculous. So the fact that she remembered her name
That is cool.
was super, super cool. So, but yes, shout out to Carson. She's getting ready for she's got a big dance performance today. So we'll see how that goes.
Oh, wow. Well, best of luck, Carson. Knock that out. Also, thanks to Nathan and Peyton for letting their dad hang out with us this week in Atlanta at SEC Football Media Days. That's where our Colin, Lacy, and Brent Osborne have been all week. One more day today, and we'll talk about, again, the lineup with Missouri, Kentucky, Arkansas, and Texas A&M coming up in hour number 2. Mike Mote back in Douglasville, Georgia. Mike Grace in Swanee, Georgia. And you on great radio stations around the Southeast, online at PressBoxRadio.com, or watching live on YouTube.com/PressBoxRadio. When we come back, hour 2 starts with Gary Stockman, CEO and president of the Peach Bowl, Inc. We're just 44 days from the Kickoff Classic. We'll talk about it next inside the Press Box. Day 4 of SEC Media Days, live from Atlanta, Georgia. And inside the press box, Mike Grace from the MGL Production Studios, ready for hour number 2 on this Thursday. My partner Mike Mote over on the Douglasville, Georgia side of the Atlanta Metro, and smack dab in the middle of it is our friend again, Colin, Lacy, and Brent Osborne, hanging out at the College Football Hall of Fame all week long. And as we start hour number 2 today, we get a chance to speak with a very important guy. He's got us 44 days away from kickoff there in Atlanta, and all of our affiliate partners all across the Southeast. You're all within driving distance, guys, where you can be here for kickoff weekend. Again, a member of the Georgia Sports Hall of Fame is going to join us. Colin, Lacy, take it away, sir.
Yeah, catching up with Gary Stoken, the CEO and president of the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. And when you look at this event, there's a lot of the bowl games and the college football playoff games that it's the game. That couldn't be farther from the truth for the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, rather. Talk about everything that kind of goes into the organization and everything that you guys are able to touch.
Well, first off, I just want to compliment you. This is the highest tech group I've been with all week, and I've done every Radio Row show here and TV show. So, congrats and compliments. Appreciate you guys having us. Yeah, we're excited. I've got the best staff in the bowl business, and you need that to put on 2 games basically within 24 hours, with a 12 o'clock game with Tennessee Syracuse, and then 3 o'clock on Sunday, August 31st, with Virginia Tech, South Carolina. But you know, it's great working with the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. They're professionals. They know what they're doing. And we're very blessed to have a great city that gets college football, sponsor-wise, board-wise, volunteer-wise, fan-wise. So a lot of people say we're the capital of college football, and one of the reasons is we're sitting in the only college football Hall of Fame in America, and having 2 Aflac kickoff games, and then having the semifinal this year in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl.
And talking about the kickoff games, just curious, just as a fan as well, what's the process look like going into those games on like how you guys choose the teams? You know, do teams put in bids? What's that process like?
Well, it's a Rubik's Cube.
I'm sure.
It's a lot of dialogue, a lot of conversations with coaches and ADs. You know, we put on the Peach Bowl, Southern Company Peach Bowl Challenge golf tournament out at the Ritz at Lake Oconee, and I invite all the coaches in, and we have a lot of sit downs with them, find out who they want to play, who they don't want to play. Mm-hmm. We come to media days, we go to spring meetings and talk to ADs, and it's really just putting together who will play who and who has an opening when. And sometimes you got to be 5 years out, sometimes it just comes within a year. So it's we've been very blessed to do it for 18 straight years, and this year, I guess this is the 3rd out of 5 years we've had 2 games.
And I know me from experience, sorry, Mote, for a second, but I got to attend the Georgia-Oregon kickoff game. Was that 2 or 3 years ago? And, I mean, everything was first class from as soon as we walked in. And so it was a great experience. I had never gotten to do that before, and so that was just a great experience as a fan to experience that.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because we created this because in 2006 we tried to get into the BCS when they went to a championship game. And the existing bowls, the Rose, the Sugar, the Orange, and the Fiesta, talked the commissioners into double host model, where they would host their game, and then 2 weeks later they'd host the national championship on a rotational basis. And that year, the NCAA presidents legislated a 12th game on the schedule. So I'm competitive. We didn't win the bid to get in, and so I went to my board, and I said, look, if they're not going to put us in the BCS on the backside, we're going to start the BCS on the front side of the season. And so I went to Terry Don Phillips, the AD at Clemson, who was a friend, and they were going to be top 10 with Spiller and that group. And then I went to Nick Saban, who was a friend over at Alabama in his second year, and we put together Clemson, Alabama, and to your point earlier, just conversations and friendships and relationships, and we're off and running 18 years later.
One of the better games of the year, too, just because it is the kickoff. People really anticipate it. And Gary, I think that's one of the things that makes your game stand out, is not only is it a really competitive game, but you're paying attention to the people that are going to come to the games. And so you're trying to keep it in this region with ACC and SEC primarily. Every once in a while you may slip and do something different, but it's primarily those 2 leagues. It's the same case this year with your matchups. You've got Tennessee and Syracuse. You're getting the folks from New York to maybe come down for a late summer getaway. And then South Carolina, a team that really has a great fan base, who will be in this thing on Sunday. And talk about just the making the selections. Do you decide ahead of time, hey, I want to get this team, or do I want to try to get this team in a particular year period? What goes into your decisions on who you target as a team to bring in?
Yeah, you hit on a couple great points there. Number one is we do really look out for the fan experience. This past year, the bowl season, which is comprised of all 42 bowl games, I think, they give 4 awards away, and we won the Community Engagement Award this year. Last year, we won the Fan Experience Award, and so whether it's our team walks with both teams walking into Mercedes-Benz, so the fans can really get excited about that and see the teams and as they walk in, similar to what they do on college campuses. Secondly, is having tailgate town with, we'll have SEC Network out there and all kind of activities and activations where fans can, really get into the game before they get into the game. That was one of your questions. The other one was, in talking to John Wildhack, who's a friend, about relationships. He was at ESPN for a long time. We had done a lot of contracts when we were the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl with ESPN. And so John got the AD job at Syracuse, and we started to talk. Ray Tanner and I went to school at North Carolina State. He played baseball. I played basketball. He coached baseball after graduating. I coached basketball. So we had a friendship, and we've been talking a long time and trying to get South Carolina scheduled. So, it's a lot about relationships. I've been in sports for 47 years and been in this job for 27 years. So, you build a lot of relationships, have a lot of good conversations, and because we've done such a good job, people hear about it and they want to play in this game. Because this game is really a differentiation point for the CFP selection committee. I go back to 2017 when we had the GOAT game. I call it the greatest opener all time with Alabama #1, Florida State #3. Alabama wins the game, does not win the SEC that year, but because they beat Florida State #3 in their non-conference, the selection committee put them in at #4 in a 4-team playoff, and they went on to win the national championship. So this game has not only changed the face of college football scheduling on the front side of the season, because now you got Ohio State playing Texas, and you got LSU playing Clemson, and all these big games now, including our 2 games. But the CFP really looks at this as a differentiation point when they start making decisions. So it's had a huge impact on college football.
Catching up with President and CEO for the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl and Gary Stokin. And Gary, one of the things that you mentioned a few minutes ago, missing out on the BCS, but when you get into the college football playoff and everything that goes along with implementing what we know the college football playoff today, what was that process like of getting the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl in the college football playoff? And then what was kind of the reaction from you guys that you realized, hey, we're in this?
Yeah, it's been as I say, you got to enjoy the journey, right? Because God doesn't promise you another second, minute, hour, a day on this earth. So you got to enjoy what you're doing every day and who you're with, and enjoy this moment. So, I had a strategy. I use an acronym, an old coach, so it's ROCKS. You got to have guts to do things, and ROCKS is relationships, build great relationships. O is opportunity. You got to look for opportunities. C, you got to be really competitive, and S, you got to be strategic. And so I use that philosophy in looking at things. And when I was president of Atlanta Sports Council and president of the Peach Bowl, we, as a sports council, coming off the Olympics in '96, when I took the job in '98, I said, we're going to make Atlanta the capital of sports capital of the world. So we went after Final Fours, Super Bowls, Women's Final Four, NHL, NBA, Major League Baseball All-Star games, and then the coup de grace was WrestleMania, right? So we went after all those things, got them, brought them to Atlanta. And then as I looked at the Peach Bowl in college football, I said, why don't we become the capital of college football? So I'd gone in 2002 to South Bend to see the induction ceremonies of the Hall of Fame. And I went through the Hall of Fame, and it's very antiquated in South Bend. They were only doing about 60,000 people a year. And I said, man, if we had this in Atlanta, this would be huge. And so I started then, And in 2010, I created Atlanta Hall Management, and as CEO signed the 30-year license with the National Football Foundation to move the College Football Hall of Fame to Atlanta. And so it took that long a time to do it. But that, along with the kickoff game, I think the commissioners looked at what we were doing and said, hey, these guys are giving back to college football. We had sold out 18 straight years of the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl with the ACC-SEC matchup, and they gave us the opportunity to move into the CFP. And, you know, just recently CBS rated all the CFP games, and our Alabama-Georgia game in 17, the national championship, our Arizona State-Texas game, double overtime this past year, and our Ohio State-Georgia semifinal were 3 of the top 5 CFP games in CFP history so far. So it's been a great run. We're very blessed. I've just taken the ingredients of all the things that Atlanta has and just put them in a recipe to hopefully, have an impact on college football.
And, talking about the playoffs just a little bit, how difficult is it for you and your team, or do you guys kind of have everything already set up, but how difficult is it to kind of get everything ready there in Mercedes-Benz and everything with not knowing who the teams are going to be until kind of last minute, the last couple weeks? And I know you guys do a great job of signage and having teams' logos and having everything set up, but how difficult is it for you and your team to kind of get everything ready kind of on the fly, not knowing who the teams are going to be?
It's going to be the most unique challenge we've had probably in my 27 years because typically we'll know our teams. And we're not going to know our teams until a week out.
Yep.
So it's going to be very difficult. And so we got to be prepared in a lot of ways. We've had meetings. Matter of fact, I'm on a call at 2 o'clock today with the CFP with my staff and their staff. So, yeah, it's going to be quite a challenge. We're going to have to react quickly. We're going to have to be pre-prepared for a lot of different ways to go, but we'll get it done for sure.
Yeah.
And I would imagine, Gary, it's part of the learning experience that anything that is a breathing, evolving type of industry like sports and live sports in particular is. You learn something every year that maybe you
Right.
carry with you to do anything new, whether it be a different type of game, 2 games instead of 1 on the same weekend, like you're going to do to open the year. I bet all of this stuff is really cool because you get to learn something regardless of what you're doing.
No, it's a great point about life in general is you've got to be always in continual improvement. And I call it the good, better, best. We go back on campus to meet with the schools that playing our bowl game every year, and we do a good, better, best. Whatever we did good, we want to do better. Whatever we did better, we want to do the best. And so the only way you can find that out is talking to your clients and your customers. And so we meet from players to equipment managers to ADs to presidents to coaches and sit and go through the whole process. And we've been doing that every year, and that's how we've gotten better. Just being continual improvement all the time with what you're doing.
Gary, we got to get you out of here. I've had a 25-year association with the bowl game down in Mobile, Alabama, and I've seen firsthand the lives they've impacted through their work and the money they've raised for charitable organizations in that community. You do the same thing with this game. The kickoff for a cause is huge in what you guys have been able to do in the fight against childhood cancer.
Well, Mike, I appreciate you bringing that up. We were founded as the 9th oldest bowl game back in 1968, and but the first bowl game founded for charity. And we've maintained that as part of our mission, being the most charitable bowl organization out of all 42 bowls. We've given $65.8 million back to charity since 2002, and by far makes us number 1. But it's something that's near and dear to our heart. We're using college football for the greater good in our community of Atlanta and the state of Georgia, as well as all the communities that play in our golf tournament, the coaches, their foundations, or the schools that play in our game with endowed scholarships. So appreciate you bringing that up. And I know Jerry Silverstein and Mike Gottfried and Danny Sheridan down there in Mobile. They're good friends. And I'll tell you a quick story, and then I know you guys got to go. You're more important people to talk to than me. But I sat on a plane with Mike Gottfried after we were at a game. He had broadcast and I had scouted the game. And he said, I want to start a game in Mobile. I want to start a bowl game. And so we talked on the plane, and he had 3 pages, yellow pages of notes. And out of that, he started the game down there in Mobile. And Mike's just one of the best people I've ever met in college football.
Gary,
Amen.
really appreciate what you do for not only the city of Atlanta, but the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl and college football. Appreciate you joining us.
Thanks so much for having us. Come see us.
Once
All right.
again, Gary
Take
Stoken,
care.
the president and CEO of the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. And, boys, it doesn't get a whole lot better than that.
Well, and look, I know there's been all kind of talk about the bowl system and its future in the current playoff setup and all that kind of jazz. And I can just tell you, and obviously the Peach Bowl is a part of that, and hopefully will stay that way. But for the smaller bowls, like the Mobile Bowl, I'm telling you guys, it means a ton to the community.
Yep.
It means a ton to the schools that take part. I'm telling you, when an Ohio comes down from the MAC and plays, when Southern Miss comes over from Hattiesburg and plays,
Mhm.
we've just seen some fantastic action. We've had the highest scoring game ever, the biggest blowout ever, from Byron Leftwich to Ben Roethlisberger to
LaDainian Tomlinson.
yeah,
in the
you betcha,
Star
yeah,
Bowl.
just terrific players. And I'm just because of that, I'm a huge proponent of the bowl system and hope that we can keep it healthy. Yeah,
I think we will for a while because I think as long as there's a place for it in television and there is that particular week of the year, as you're looking at, the 2 weeks at the end of the month of December, TV needs content
yep.
and bowl games serve that need. And people are on vacation. They want something to watch. People may want to go make a trip or something like that and have something to do. I know people that get together and do it when they can, they'll do the Alabama bowl trip. They'll do all of them because there's several to do now.
Yep.
I think it's a great thing. Maybe it don't mean anything to everybody. Maybe they this doesn't mean that. Well, it means something to the communities, like you said.
Yeah.
And so I think as long as there's a place for it on television, it'll be there. I think it'll always be there.
Well, and I think,
Some
too,
capacity, anyways.
yeah, I think, too, going back to what we talked about with Gary of the impact that these games have in the community. And Mike, you and I have talked about it a lot with what is now the 68 Venture, or with the 68
Yes.
Ventures Bowl in Mobile, that they make a huge impact in that Mobile community, not just on game day, but being able to give back to the community throughout the year. And I think the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl has made that a huge part of their mission, that this isn't just a bowl game, which they very easily could say, look, this is a bowl game. We're in the college football playoff. Everybody else can get lost. But they have made a huge impact with the Athletic Kickoff game, with numerous charities that they impact throughout the Atlanta metro area community, but also just giving back to football. And you heard the passion that Gary Stoken has with what he is able to do and what he and his staff and Brent talked about it. That's a first-class game from any way you look at it, from covering it as a media member, from covering it on the outside looking in, or coming to it as a fan.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we went to the Georgia Oregon game a couple years ago for that kickoff, and it was something I had never experienced before. Hadn't really ever gotten to go to the Mercedes-Benz, so that was my first Mercedes-Benz Stadium experience. So that was really, really neat, and they did a really, really good job. A bunch of fan experience stuff that you get to do there, and so they did a really good job. So I did want to point that out.
44 days until Syracuse and Tennessee on August 30th, followed by Virginia Tech and South Carolina on August 31st. Going to be a fantastic year for the AFLAC kickoff games held at the Mercedes-Benz Dome in Atlanta, and again run by the Peach Bowl Inc. and their president and crew, Gary Stoken, joining us here inside the press box, live from SEC Football Media Days, Atlanta, Georgia is where we are. We'll head back there with Colin and Brent and more with Mike and Mike inside the press box after a timeout on great stations around the Southeast and online, PressBoxRadio.com and YouTube.com/PressBoxRadio.
That's how I was born, man. That's how I was born and raised. Hate Auburn. I know you're not going to use that, but I'm having fun.
Roll Tide.
Damn right, Roll Tide.
It's Guy, our voice guy, bringing us back inside the press box, hour 2 on day 4 of SEC Football Media Days, live from the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta, Georgia. Our Colin, Lacy, and Brent Osborne been hanging out with us there all week. Thanks to you guys for doing so, your families for allowing you to be away all week. Meanwhile, Mike Mote and Mike Grace just having fun on our ends of the show. And again, an example of the rivalries in this conference, guys. I mean, that was unprovoked. Guy, I sent him 2 pages of copy, asked him to read us some new liners, and in the midst of it, all kind of great outtakes like that. And we'll have more of those tomorrow. He expounded on his love for Alabama and his disdain for the Auburn Tigers quite a bit. So we'll share some more of that with you tomorrow.
Did he do
Speaking
it?
of rivalries,
Did he do
I
a
have
Tennessee one?
He did not do a Tennessee one, but we'll say
That's
that
too
for you, Colin. Yeah. Yeah.
I have a question. Speaking of rivalries, I don't know if y'all heard this or not, but I saw it posted where when Sark was introduced on Tuesday, they played the Texas A&M fight song.
They did.
Oh yeah. By the way, remind me tomorrow, Mike, and we got to ask Jake Crane about that because I'll give you a little teaser. While we were at Stats on what was that Tuesday?
night. Yep.
My days are running together.
Yeah,
On Tuesday night when we were at Stats, we were hanging out with Jake Crane at the media event,
Yeah.
and the guy that played the song for Sark
Right. Yeah.
came up to Jake Crane and said, "Hey, I appreciate the comment that you made about me on your show today." And Jake was wondering which comment he was talking about because he didn't know who the guy was.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I assume this is just and it's he's either an employee of the SEC or he's an employee of the hotel there.
It's a third party.
Is or was?
the
Is it
Hall,
is?
the Hall of Fame, I should say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's actually a third party production company.
Aha. Okay.
And,
Yeah.
Was it an honest mistake, you think? Or
I think
it was. And
Well, I think so too. Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
very big
Yeah.
on making sure when he was talking to Jake the other night, he was very big on making sure that people knew that like this was not an SEC mess up or something like that. That it was like their production companies just mess up.
And at the end of the day, when he was kind of telling us what happened, I get it because he has a button on his screen for each school.
Right.
Well, the file name was longer than what the button would allow, and so the Texas and Texas A&M buttons
no, it's the same.
cut off
Oh,
after
my.
Texas, and so he had a 50-50 shot of what it was going to be, and he's like, I didn't know which song was which, so I pressed one of the Texas and prayed for the best.
He did say that he heard some people in the crowd like clapping or whatever, and he was like, "Oh, this must be a good song."
Well, give Steve Sarkisian credit because he did not mention it. He waited till it was over, and then he went right into his speech and did not mention it whatsoever, which I thought was classy. You know,
That is classy.
Don't bring attention to it, man. Don't throw.
Just don't say anything. Don't make it.
Yeah, you don't throw the guy under the bus. I have to believe it was an honest mistake.
Yeah.
And as a guy, and I think all of us in one shape or form, from a production standpoint, we've produced all kind of broadcasts in our careers, fellas, and we know that sometimes accidents happen.
Live on the air happens, and
Exactly,
sometimes
man.
it don't
Yeah.
go exactly as
Exactly.
a plan.
So I feel for him. I absolutely do.
I do too.
Yeah,
Bless
we've
his
got a little over a half hour to wrap up our 4 days at SEC Football Media Days. And again, if you missed any of it, we did speak with Commissioner Greg Sankey earlier today. Actually, the conversation took place yesterday, but was on the show today. You can find it in our archives, pressboxradio.com, along with the video at youtube.com/pressboxradio. And my goodness, guys, who else have we heard from and talked to this week? It's been a plethora of folks, and it's been fantastic. So if you missed any of it, you can find it again on the episodes page online, pressboxradio.com, and right there on the main page of youtube.com/pressboxradio. If we have some time, I thought this might be interesting. I found a new article in The Athletic where they rank all 136 projected FBS starting quarterbacks, 1 to 136. They break them into 7 tiers. Tier 1, the most talented quarterbacks in the country with the highest ceilings. Tier 2, winners who have proven their mettle. Tier 3, most teams would be happy with a quarterback of this caliber, great ability, solid body of work, but they have some flaws. Tier 4, some are young, unproven starters with high potential, Others are veterans who have flashed great talent but hit performance or injury speed bumps somewhere along the way. Tier 5, you've probably seen these quarterbacks before. Many have played well in college but haven't put it all together consistently. Tier 6, quarterbacks have a lot of question marks, but a lot of talent or trait there that someone is betting on. And Tier 7, largely unproven group with some decent group of 5 returning starters, but also quarterbacks who haven't played much or have had multiple stops in their college career. If you get all that, Tier 1, Cade Klubnik, no surprise there. Let's see, how many of these are SEC quarterbacks? Garrett Nussmeier.
I was about to say Nussmeier's got to be in there.
Yep.
Lenore Sellers.
Yeah.
John Mateer. DJ Lagway, all Tier 1, along with Drew Aller,
Aller, yeah, from Penn State.
From Penn State.
Mhm.
Sam Levitt from Arizona State.
Mm-hmm.
And Arch Manning is there from Texas as well. Kevin Jennings of SMU, Josh Hoover of TCU.
I'm
So let's see
surprised
where the
Arch Manning is in there.
I figured
Arch Manning is Tier 1. Is Tier 1.
Name has a lot to do with that, I would think, but I think he hasn't proven.
He
I
hasn't
mean,
proven
he
squat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I think his name is the
But
reason.
guys, give him credit. He says that. He said that to media earlier in the week. He said,
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
talk
Yeah.
is cheap, dude. I've done nothing. I've
Right.
played 2 games, started 2 games. I've got to go prove it. So give him credit, recognizing.
No, 100%. And none of it's like kind of what we were talking about yesterday. And I know Bart was fighting us a little bit on it, but none of the
Not
fanfare, none of I know, right? Shocker. None of the fanfare, none of the hype, none of this is coming from Arch Manning. He's not asking for this.
Oh.
It's just happening, and he's trying to field it as best he can, but he's getting peppered with a bunch of 95-mile-an-hour fastballs right at him.
Some names from Tier 2.
But
Yeah.
but you should know that. I mean, that's coming if you're Manning for one,
Oh, no doubt.
and that to me is the thing I give him credit for is not only taking all that and taking it in stride, but sticking around for his 3rd season where he could have gone anywhere
Yes.
in the country. He could have named his team, and somebody would have came up with whatever money in a paper sack or whatever sack they wanted it in, and they could have had him. And so he's trying to prove himself and on a lot of different fronts as well. So that's good for him. Good on him for that.
It's the Manning way. If you
Yep.
don't believe it's a real deal, find the SEC story, the Book of Manning. They're different, y'all. They're just plain different. Some Tier 2 quarterbacks. Auburn fans get used to this name, Sawyer Robertson. He's the Baylor head coach, returning starting quarterback, returning starter.
For Dave Aranda.
That you'll see for Dave Aranda at Baylor in Game 1, season opener for the Auburn Tigers. Carson Beck down in Miami, also ranked as a 2-tier quarterback. Diego Pavia from Vanderbilt and Haynes King from Georgia Tech, all Tier 2.
Now, see, I believe Pavia and Haynes King has proven more than Manning has.
Yep,
100%.
I agree. And what's
Yeah,
interesting
so
is
far.
I did see yesterday that I guess it got announced that Miami is choosing to pay Beck close to or up to $6 million
To go away.
for this one season.
I think it's with incentives. With
I
incentives.
love
Yeah, with
God.
incentives.
Yeah.
With incentives.
With
yeah,
incentives, he can make up to $6 million
which is just, I mean,
this
That's
year.
this is coming from
Crazy.
a Georgia fan, but I mean, he wasn't bad by any means, but he wasn't
I
$6
think he's
million
going to have to
worth.
do. He's going to have to do much like he did last year to keep them in games, because I don't know that they have the weaponry, much like what they didn't have at Georgia last year that was proven. Because Ra Thomas was supposed to be
Yep.
their go-to guy last year, and he never played it down. And I don't know. I don't know what Miami's got in terms of skill. Maybe they got people I don't know. Colin, you would maybe know more about that being an ACC guy, but I don't see it.
Yeah.
Not more than Georgia had.
No, that is the second quarterback that I'm pretty sure is not going to have a great year.
All right, Talon Green, Arkansas, listed as a 3-tier quarterback.
Okay.
Marcel Reed from Texas A&M, also a Tier 3.
Lot to prove for him.
Yeah,
I'm
lot
shocked
to
he's
prove
not
there.
here.
So we've got Tier 4, 5, 6, and 7 to go. We haven't heard the Auburn quarterback yet. Haven't heard the
Tennessee.
Ole Miss quarterback yet. Haven't heard Missouri. Haven't heard Tennessee. Haven't heard Alabama. Yeah, we haven't. So we'll check those names in this list from the Athletic.
Georgia either with Gunner Stockton.
That is true, yeah. So we'll find out where those quarterbacks rank in the Athletic quarterback rankings on the other side of a timeout. More from SEC Football Media Days after this timeout inside the press box.
more.
In Tennessee. Why did you see what he did? Rabbit in maroon and white.
It's the Southeastern Conference. It's here, inside the press box.
Legendary voices to go along with this Southeastern Conference. You just heard, again, the great John Ward of Tennessee, Larry Munson of Georgia, Jack Crystal of Mississippi State, and the late Rod Bramlett of Auburn. And again, raise your hand if you grew up listening to those guys and wanting to be one of them. Yeah,
My hand's raised. My hands raised.
Everybody inside the press box. We're doing what we're doing
That
because
is
of those guys. Because
that is the best rejoin we have. It's not close.
For the younger generation, I encourage you to go on Hulu or ESPN Plus, whatever you got, and watch the SEC Voices
100%.
SEC Storied from a few years ago. That'll give you an education on what college football sounded like in the SEC on the radio, and there's nothing better to listen to that.
And keeping this in mind, and I know, kids, this will be hard to believe, but back in the day, we were lucky to get one college football game a week on TV. We'd have one Saturday afternoon game. So if you wanted to listen to anything else, if you wanted to be a part of any other game, radio is how you're going to do it. That's how you got it. And
I got many cramps in my arms holding the radio a certain way, so that the station.
So the station would not.
That's right.
I can see that. I can see that. I absolutely can.
And y'all want an electric moment in a college football game, and one that gets underrated. Y'all know my feelings for Tennessee.
Oh yeah,
but
Love them, do you?
But in Neyland Stadium, whenever John Ward's "It's Football Time" in Tennessee goes through the speakers, that'll give you chill bumps.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I love the way certain organizations keep voices alive that way.
Yes.
It's still, I mean, you can't say Tennessee football without John Ward, and it's football time in Tennessee. You can't.
Well, there's a Morgan Wallen song now, because of course he's a big Tennessee fan. There's a Morgan Wallen song that literally starts with that call. The song starts with that call. It's football time in Tennessee. It's pretty dang cool.
Yeah.
Kenny Chesney wrote one and actually sang it in front of John Ward, and that's on that show.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. We love that.
Well, we are we're blessed to know a bunch of the current SEC broadcasters, and be friends with them and be able to call them friends, and it is pretty cool. I mean, that's the whole idea of this radio show when we started it over 4.5 years ago, was to bring those kind of people together, to have the kind of conversations that we would have with them in press boxes all across the country. Yeah, we're going to talk about football. We're going to talk about your quarterback and your running back and your defensive line, but we're also going to just hang out and talk about what you're doing from a job standpoint, how your family's doing. Guys, that's what we do inside the press box. And so that's why we thank the Osborne family and the Lacy family for sharing Dad with us this week. Same goes for Mike Mote, Bart Heitch, the whole crew, whoever you are. Appreciate you guys being a part of the press box. We have some fun. We can get back to that SEC quarterback list is ranked by The Athletic, tier 1 through 7. We're still looking for some other SEC quarterbacks. Tier 3, we found Talon Green of Arkansas. We found Texas A&M's Marcel Reed. That's it for tier 3. Tier 4. Oh, looky there. There's the Ole Miss quarterback, Austin Simmons.
Ooh, okay. Thought he might be a little higher.
I was going to say he'd be higher.
There's the Auburn quarterback, Jackson Arnold.
Yeah, that's probably about right.
Jerry's still out on him. I still say when Oklahoma couldn't figure out a way to keep him in the lineup last year due to injury and everything else with their wide receivers. So I still don't know anything about the guy. Let's see how healthy he can stay and how healthy his targets can stay this year.
Yeah, we are still in tier 4 where we find Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson, Georgia quarterback Gunnar Stockton, all listed as tier 4 quarterbacks.
Okay.
Blake Shapen of Mississippi State also in tier 4. You have to go to tier 5 to find the Tennessee presumed starting quarterback, Joey Aguilar, the transfer from Coastal Carolina. And you guys have any idea who's going to be the starting quarterback for Kentucky this year?
Nope.
Probably Zach Calzada, isn't
it? Did you even know that he was with Kentucky now? That's a former
I did.
guy,
Looking at our notes, I did, but I have to be honest, I didn't realize he had another 9th year of eligibility. My God, he's been in the SEC forever.
Texas A&M, am I right? Is that where I associate?
Started at A&M, beat Alabama. That was his big claim to fame. Remember in 21.
Yeah.
That's what got his name on the map. And then he went to Auburn with Brian Harson, got there, never took a snap. Was hurt
Whoa.
the whole time he was there, right?
Mhm.
And then he went to, didn't he go like to Arkansas State or someplace like that? I don't remember exactly.
No idea. Yeah. Well, he's
But
found
he
him.
disappeared and now he's back.
Yeah, he's found himself in Lexington, Kentucky now, and so he's going to the projected quarterback for the Wildcats. Here, just outside of the SEC, here's Florida State's Tommy Castellanos. I mentioned him because he's already proven he's got a big mouth. Wasn't he the one talking about
He was.
Alabama? You know,
Yeah. I know that Alabama players were asked about that yesterday,
Yeah.
and they had the prototypical response: "We'll handle it
Oh
on
yeah.
the field."
Yeah, I was going to say that'll be bulletin board material for
You
them.
think? Yeah,
I would think so.
Yeah.
Let's see. Tier 6. Oh, Bart Heitch. Do you know who's going to the presumed starting quarterback at Wake Forest? Is Robbie Ashford.
Oh, I saw that last night, and he is going to eat that up.
Wake.
4-8 for Wake this year. I'm sorry, they're not doing much better than that.
my
I hate it
goodness.
for them, but 4-8 Wake.
Let's see. Are we missing anybody?
Ashford.
Have we touched everybody from the SEC? I hope so.
Honestly, I'm surprised that Joey Aguilar from App State, that's now at Tennessee, is that high. And I say that high at 5.
I will say the one thing that I am kind of glad to see is, and I know that we talked about him.
Missouri. We didn't hear about Missouri.
Yeah, we didn't hear about Missouri.
That's the only one, I think.
Go
ahead. I'm sorry.
They're still trying to decide who their quarterback is.
Do they have one?
I think they're having
not according to this list. They don't.
No. For this, they may not have one. Well, I've got it in my notes somewhere.
Bo Prabula.
Bo Prabula. Is that
Prabula or Sam Horn? And Sam Horn's another name that sounds familiar to me.
Wasn't Sam Horn the backup last year that whenever Brady Cook got hurt, he came in and it was putrid?
Yeah.
I think they played one or two guys, didn't they? Behind him, and it wasn't good either way. So.
Going back to the old Castellanos thing, Florida State let the best quarterback that they had that should have been the starting quarterback this year, they let him walk, and he is now with your Mississippi State Bulldogs as the backup to Blake Shapen. Because there's a guy, Luke Cromenhock, who went to Benedictine down in Savannah, and Brent and I
coached against him.
Brent got to see him up close, and wasn't so great for us at the time. But he started at Florida State last year, and that is an impressive dude, but a stupid impressive quarterback. Now, I think obviously you don't want Blake Shapen to have to go through what he did last year, but I think if you're Mississippi State, you feel better than you did last year if that does happen.
Do you know what else Florida State and Mississippi State have in common? They both went 2-10 last year.
Yeah.
They did. Yeah.
It's the truth.
How about that? Yeah.
Who was more impressive at 2-10, Mississippi State or Florida State? I would say Mississippi State because they were in many more games than Florida State was.
Mississippi State. That's not close.
Yeah,
roster too. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Here's the Missouri quarterback. He is listed as Tier 4, along with Austin Simmons from Ole Miss and Jackson Arnold from Auburn. Bo Prabula is the transfer from Penn State.
Okay. Yeah, he wasn't going to play with Aller there.
Exactly. Yeah. So he did play.
He was in the conversation at the beginning of the year last year, I think.
He was. He was because I think a lot of folks were not sure about Aller, and I'm still not, folks. I'm sorry. I'm not 100% sold on him. I think Tyler Ward, their fine all-purpose player, bailed them out in a lot of situations last year, and they're really going to miss him on that offense this year because he was kind of like the guy that could do anything. You could line him up at fullback if you wanted to.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he was just an X factor. He was a guy that you had to get the ball in his hands, and they don't have that. And I'm still waiting on Penn State to win a big game. They haven't really done it yet.
They haven't. We can talk about today's teams at SEC Football Media Days. Missouri's Eli Drinkwitz was first at the podium today. This team went 10-3 last year, 5-3 in the league. They were number 22 in the final AP poll and beat Iowa in the Music City Bowl. We mentioned their starting quarterback is either Prabula or Sam Horn. The defense is expected to be good this year, which could help them out as well. Kentucky and Mark Stoops, my goodness, 4-8 last year against what was the 18th hardest schedule in the nation. They're looking again for a new quarterback. Zach Calzada needs some help with the offensive line, etc. Arkansas's Sam Pittman 7-6 last year, 3-0 in bowl games now after beating Texas Tech in the Liberty Bowl. They've got, of course, quarterback Talon Green going for them. What can they do around that? How about their schedule? They actually host Notre Dame,
Yeah,
guys.
they got that
I'm a fan of
third
it.
game is Ole Miss, I think, and then it's Memphis, which is not easy, and then they have Notre Dame. That's going to be a great Saturday of college football because you got Texas and Notre Dame to start the day.
Yeah.
And then you've got Auburn, Oklahoma, and then you wrap the night up with Georgia and Alabama.
Wow, what a day.
That's pretty good. I think that's right. I think those are the games on that day. I'm pretty sure I got that right. If
Got to be
not,
a tough one for Arkansas and Sam Pittman,
yeah.
who needs
But
to,
if you could
needs to have
figure out a
good-
way to win that game, man,
yeah.
that'd be
Oh, yeah.
huge. It'd be huge.
Yeah, man. As much as we love Sam Pittman, he needs a good year
He does.
in Fayetteville. Meanwhile, in College Station, Mike Elko back for his second season at Texas A&M. They were 8-5 last year. That included a Las Vegas Bowl loss to USC.
Yeah.
A lot of their season hinges on Marcel Reed, how well he plays, plus the performance of their offensive line and wide receivers as well. Their schedule also includes Notre Dame, plus LSU and Texas.
I'm not seeing this team any better than 8 wins.
Yeah.
Because they've never really done better than 8 wins, no matter how much money they got, no matter what coach they got. Guys, I don't know where does the 9th win come from on that schedule, in my humble opinion. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either.
Our buddy Phil Steele has A&M tied for 4th in the league.
Okay.
Along with Oklahoma and LSU. So
I think LSU needs to do a little better than that. But
yeah, you can't tell me that A&M and LSU are on the same plane. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I don't believe that either. Yeah.
I think there's too much to prove for Marcel Reed as opposed to Nussmeier. I mean, we know what Nussmeier can do. I'm just not too sure how good of a passer Reed is.
And you look at A&M, at Notre Dame, at LSU, at Texas.
Whew.
That's
hard.
Now, I mean, the rest of the schedule is manageable. You have Auburn at home, Mississippi State at home, Florida at home, at Arkansas, hosting South Carolina. The rest of it's manageable, and that may be one of the lighter schedules in the SEC if there is such a thing.
I think they'll find a way to drop one of those, though.
100%.
Which one? Yeah.
I think
Florida
of
will be
the
hard. I think.
I think of the Auburn, Mississippi State, Florida, where they've got 3 straight weeks to wrap up September and start October. Of those 3, all at home in a row, which is kind of impressive in and of itself, there's a realistic possibility that they could drop 2 out of 3 of those.
Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me. I think they have to win at least 2 or 3, but I could see them losing 2 out of 3 as well. Just because that's A&M. That's what A&M does.
I think possibly with another reason why he may kind of have them on the same playing field a little bit. I agree. I think LSU's obviously a much better team than A&M is going to be. But looking at LSU's schedule, I mean, their last 4 games in a row, they're at Alabama, then Arkansas, Western Kentucky, and then at Oklahoma, which are, they could possibly go 2-2 in those last 4-game stretch. And I think LSU's going to be a really good team. But, I mean, being able to go to Alabama and then go to Oklahoma to try to win those 2 games is going to be really, really tough.
Is there a more important game opener, season opener for a team in the league besides the LSU Clemson game?
I know.
Just because it's Brian Kelly needing to win a home opener or a season opener for the first time since being there.
Yeah, I think the only other one that you could possibly point to would be Texas and Ohio State, but I don't know.
I don't think it hurts Texas if they lose.
Yeah, that's what I don't know that it's detrimental to Texas if they lose it.
I don't know that hurts really either of the teams.
No, in the grand scheme of things, I think LSU isn't by any means dead if they lose to Clemson, especially on the road at Clemson.
But it's that
I don't think
it's
it'll
that
happen.
feeling,
But
though.
yeah,
you know?
100%.
What can you do? What have I got to do to win a season opener here?
No doubt. And really, truly, I think the sneaky game in the SEC is going to be that LSU at Oklahoma game to wrap up the regular season. I think that game is going to be ginormous whenever you get to that point in the season.
You would imagine it's going to have, not only could potentially have SEC championship implications on it, but of course I would imagine, assuming that the season goes how we expect it to, that it's going to have playoff implications as well.
Well, and it may have coach implications if both of those teams are struggling or one of the other teams is struggling. There's a lot of reasons that game's going to be huge. But I think from what you guys are saying, if we are projecting these teams to rebound the way we expect, that could very well be for a playoff spot or a spot in the SEC championship game opposite maybe Texas. That would be something.
But do you think that because both those games being the first game of the season, two big games to open up the season for all four of those teams, is it so, we run into the issue where is it too early in the season that it really comes down to and affects the college football playoffs, at the end of the season? Because they always say, well, that was the very first game of the season. The team has changed. They're playing really good now. That's the one, I guess, bright side of playing a really big game at the beginning of the season is, you take that loss early enough that it doesn't affect you as much.
I think it's the way you lose it.
Yep.
I mean, you think about how it didn't affect Clemson last
Yeah.
year, and they got blown out by Georgia.
Yep.
And, didn't hurt them. Some people would argue that it could have and should have, but it didn't. I think it does. I don't know. I think there's depends on, what else you do. If you stub your toe somewhere you shouldn't, I think it puts more pressure on you to win the games you have to win at home games that are, you're supposed to win. And that makes that harder, but I don't think it'll hurt if you lose at the beginning of the year.
Hey, real quick before we say sayonara from SEC Media Days here on a Thursday, but one thing that we haven't talked about that I wanted to make sure we mention is while we're talking about Texas, they brought defensive back Michael Taff to SEC Media Days in Tuesday, I think it was.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he did that was really, really special, if you haven't seen it on social media, go and look at it. I know On3 has a really good post about it.
Yep.
But he wore a burnt orange tie. But when we saw him walking around Digital Drive earlier on in the week, we saw that it had something on it but didn't know what it was. And he created a tie that had the initials of all the campers and counselors who died at
Very
Camp
cool.
Mystic in the Texas floods, and a burnt orange tie with a
cool.
bunch of initials in white kind of embroidered on it. And I thought that was a really, really cool gesture for somebody that kind of gets overlooked in the SEC, but a really, really cool gesture this week.
He's a heck of a player, too.
And I
by
thought
the
what
way.
was really neat was me and Colin had actually gone over to, they've got all these different media rooms here that they go from one interview to another. And we actually went to one of the other media rooms where Sark was in there talking more of a conversational type media room instead of the big main thing.
Right.
And that was one of the questions that they had asked him was, with Taft doing that, was that something that he ran by you? Was that something that and he just said that's just the kind of kid he is, that he was very big once that happened on wanting to help and raise money and that kind of stuff. And he said once he's got his mind on something, he is invested. He's not just saying it just to say it, that he's going to do it in full force.
That's a great point. Appreciate you bringing that up, Colin. Good stuff. In our final minute, let's do this. By the end of the day, it's the deadline for SEC media to vote their decisions for just who's going to be the champion. And I think we actually get to vote for who's going to be in the championship game, the SEC championship game, and then who's going to win it. So not what you think, fellas, but what you think the media will vote. We'll probably find out in a press release tomorrow. Mike Mote, who you think the media thinks will play for the SEC championship and who will win it?
I'm going to say the vast majority of them will say Texas, Georgia again.
And winning it?
Georgia.
I'm going Texas, Georgia, and Texas. Brent, you want to go? Wrap us up?
Yeah, of course I'm a Georgia fan, so I got to go Georgia.
Yeah,
But I will say, the more I look at Georgia's schedule, and then you look at their difficulty of the schedule, it's not that tough of a schedule because of being able to have so many home games. So I'm going to go Georgia, probably against Texas in the SEC championship again.
I'm going to guess Georgia to win it. Yes, Georgia to win it.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
And we know Colin's picking Tennessee. So
Colin, Tennessee and Missouri.
Tennessee 12th, boys.
Tennessee and Vanderbilt. That's who he's got.
I think it's going to be LSU and either Texas or Georgia, with LSU winning it.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Wow.
Hey, guys, thanks to these fellas. Thanks to Laura Rutledge. Thanks to Commissioner Greg Sankey. Thanks to all our guests throughout the week, but especially thanks to these guys who have been away from home all week to help us out. Colin, Lacy, Brent, Osborne, kudos to you, fellas. Thanks so much.
Good job, guys. Thanks.
Hey, it's been a blast.
Yeah, it's been fun. Thank you.
Be safe on the way home and find us tomorrow for a full wrap of SEC Football Media Days here inside the Press Box.